The day Ava Bennett was left alone at an isolated mountain railway station, she believed her family had simply grown tired of her. But she had no idea that their cruel decision was only the first move in a dangerous plan that had been unfolding for years behind closed doors. As the last train disappeared into the distance and the station grew silent, she stood clutching her small suitcase, wondering why the people she loved had vanished without a single explanation. Only an hour earlier, her uncle Daniel, his wife Monica, and their son Ethan had promised that the weekend trip would help the family heal after years of arguments and misunderstandings. They smiled, joked, and treated Ava with an unusual kindness that made her believe their relationship was finally changing for the better, even though something deep inside her warned that everything felt strangely rehearsed. While waiting for the next train, Monica suddenly claimed she had forgotten an important bag in the parking area and begged Ava to retrieve it before they missed their departure. Wanting to prove she was still part of the family, Ava hurried away without hesitation, never imagining that the empty parking lot would become the place where her trust was shattered forever. After searching every corner without finding the missing bag, Ava rushed back to the station, only to discover that her family had disappeared and their train had already departed. Her phone vibrated with a short message from Daniel that read, "Don't try to follow us. This is better for everyone," and moments later every family member blocked her number. Fighting back tears, Ava sat alone on a wooden bench until an email arrived from an anonymous sender containing legal documents connected to her late mother's estate. As she read the pages, she realized someone had forged her signature to transfer valuable property into Ethan's name, proving that her abandonment had been carefully planned rather than happening by chance. Before she could decide what to do, an elderly woman wearing a dark blue coat quietly sat beside her and calmly asked whether she was Ava Bennett. Surprised that a complete stranger knew her name, Ava nodded cautiously, and the woman whispered, "Your mother spent years protecting something that was never meant to fall into greedy hands." The stranger handed Ava an old silver locket engraved with the initials of her mother and told her to keep it hidden because many people were searching for it without understanding its true value. Before Ava could ask another question, the woman disappeared into the growing crowd, leaving behind nothing except unanswered questions and a feeling that her life had changed forever. Curious, Ava opened the locket and discovered a tiny folded piece of paper containing a set of strange numbers and the address of an abandoned lighthouse on the northern coast. Although fear filled her heart, she knew the message had been left by someone who trusted her mother completely, and she decided that finding the truth was worth every risk. That evening, Ava rented a small car and drove through heavy rain until she reached the lonely lighthouse standing against the crashing waves. Hidden beneath a loose wooden floorboard, she discovered an old metal box filled with photographs, handwritten journals, and a sealed envelope with her own name written across the front in her mother's unmistakable handwriting. With trembling hands, Ava opened the envelope and began reading the first lines of the letter, only to learn that her mother's greatest secret had never been about money, but about exposing a powerful network of corruption that had ruined countless innocent lives. Before she could finish reading, the sound of footsteps echoed through the lighthouse, and someone slowly tried to open the locked entrance from outside. The footsteps grew louder, until a calm voice called Ava's name from outside. And after a long moment of hesitation, she carefully unlocked the door to find an elderly lawyer named Samuel Reeves standing in the rain with his hands raised to show he meant no harm. He explained that he had been her mother's closest legal advisor and had spent years searching for her, because he had promised to deliver the truth only when she was old enough to protect herself. Samuel revealed that Ava's mother had uncovered evidence of a powerful business group that secretly stole land and life savings from hundreds of ordinary families by using fake contracts and corrupt officials. When she refused to stay silent, she hid every piece of evidence in different locations, knowing that exposing the conspiracy could cost her life. Inside the metal box, Samuel found a second key hidden beneath the journals and smiled sadly as he admitted that he had hoped the key had never been needed. According to him, it opened a secure vault that contained the final records capable of proving the crimes beyond any doubt. Before they could leave the lighthouse, two black SUVs stopped outside and several strangers stepped out, searching the area with flashlights despite the heavy rain. Samuel quickly led Ava through a narrow underground tunnel that had once been used by lighthouse keepers, allowing them to escape unnoticed while the intruders searched the empty building above. The tunnel led to a quiet fishing village, where an old friend of Samuel's offered them shelter for the night without asking unnecessary questions. For the first time since her family abandoned her, Ava felt that she was surrounded by people who valued honesty more than wealth. The following morning, Samuel took Ava to a small private bank, where the silver key unlocked a forgotten safety deposit box that had remained untouched for nearly 20 years. Instead of cash or jewelry, the box contained original contracts, recorded interviews, and a handwritten journal that connected several influential businessmen to a long history of fraud. As Ava read through the documents, she was shocked to discover that her uncle Daniel had joined the criminal network years earlier after falling into serious financial trouble. He had believed stealing Ava's inheritance would solve his problems forever, never expecting that her mother had prepared evidence that could destroy the entire operation. Just as they prepared to contact investigators, Ava received an unexpected phone call from Ethan, whose voice was filled with fear instead of confidence. He admitted that things had gone terribly wrong, confessing that the people behind the conspiracy no longer trusted Daniel and were willing to silence anyone who knew too much. Samuel immediately contacted a trusted investigative journalist instead of confronting the criminals directly because he knew the truth would be safest if it became public. Within hours, copies of the evidence were delivered to several secure locations, making it impossible for anyone to erase the facts by destroying a single file. That evening, Ava stood on a quiet hill overlooking the city lights and realized that the hardest part of her journey was no longer surviving betrayal, but finding the courage to expose the truth regardless of the consequences. As police vehicles began moving toward the offices of the corrupt organization, she understood that justice was finally beginning to catch up with those who had spent years believing they were untouchable. The following morning, news channels across the country reported that investigators had raided several corporate offices after receiving overwhelming evidence of fraud, money laundering, and illegal property seizures. As the story spread, more victims came forward with documents of their own, strengthening the case and proving that Ava's mother had been telling the truth all along. Daniel tried to escape before authorities could question him, but he was stopped at a nearby airport after investigators traced the forged documents and financial transactions directly to him. Monica and several other members of the criminal network were also taken into custody, while Ethan chose to cooperate with investigators and admitted everything he knew in exchange for a chance to rebuild his life honestly. When the investigation was finally completed, the court restored every asset that legally belonged to Ava and returned dozens of stolen properties to their rightful owners. Although she had gained financial security, she realized that the greatest gift was discovering her mother's courage and learning that integrity was worth far more than any fortune. Months later, Ava transformed the old lighthouse into a community learning center where families facing hardship could receive free legal advice and educational support. Standing by the ocean at sunset, she smiled with quiet pride, knowing that her mother's legacy would now inspire hope instead of fear for generations to come. Every difficult moment had taught Ava that betrayal can break your heart, but it can also reveal your true strength and lead you toward people who genuinely care about your future. Please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.